Hello, hello, and welcome to Bitesized Podcast. I'm your host, Sandali. So since we've been hanging out this past month, my goal has been to help you feel more knowledgeable and empowered about the choices you're making in the grocery store. While we wrap up this foundational nutrition month, I wanted to talk about the final thing, which is some more jargon you might hear when it comes to groceries, particularly protein terms. We've talked about the clean 15 and the dirty dozen, we've talked about balancing your meals, and now I want to make you the most empowered and knowledgeable you can be about your protein options. So while we covered what organic means when it comes to our produce, now it's time to talk about what it means when it comes to our pantry options and our proteins. So what do all these protein terms mean? 100% organic. For something to be labeled 100% organic, that means both the processing aids and all of the ingredients are organic sources. So for something labeled organic, not 100% organic, just organic, 95% of the ingredients will come from an organic source, while the remaining 5% do have special requirements that they have to meet. If a label reads made with organic ingredients, that typically means that about 70% of the ingredients are from organic sources, while the other 30% might not be organic, could be synthetic, or the processing was not organic. In all of these instances, on the ingredient label list, it should identify whether something was an organic ingredient or not, so be sure to read your labels. Now, moving on from the pantry items, the bulk of today's episode will be protein terms. I'm sure you've all read grass-fed, free-range, omega-enhanced, blah, blah, blah. I find all of those things really confusing, and so hopefully today's episode will help give you a bit more clarity on that and what your choices are. Before I became a nutrition consultant, I thought for sure that all of these terms were just gimmicks, trying to get you to buy into the next fad thing, trying to convince you of a healthier option, quote unquote, when really it was just the same with a fancier term. But as I've learned over my course of my studies and through life, that is not true. All of these terms do mean something very specific, and it's totally up to you what you choose. Again, I'm going to give you what the ideal option is, but I know that not everyone's budget will fit that, and I just want to make sure that you have all of the information at your fingertips to make the best choices. When talking about protein terms, something labeled as organic will mean that the animal is allowed outside for part of the day and that their diet that they consume is at least 80% organic. Yes, what we eat is impacted by what they eat, which means that that's going to affect the nutritional value, the nutritional content, and unfortunately, the price in the grocery stores. When something is labeled as pasture-raised, that means that they are allowed to roam freely outside for all of their day and that their diet is mostly grass and insects. This is still a really great option for our protein choices and, of course, for animal cruelty. Next is free range. We often see free range in terms of chickens and eggs, so all of our poultry options will be labeled as free range. Free range means that they'll be allowed outside for part of their day, but it has no indication about their diet. Free run is our next term. This term always reminds me of that chicken movie. I don't know if you guys ever saw it. I honestly don't even remember the plot, but when I hear free run, all I see is that movie cover. Apparently the movie is called Chicken Run. But free run, chicken run, same thing in my head. Essentially what that means is the chickens are not allowed outside, but they are not kept in cages, so they will be kept inside. This environmental change would impact the health of the chicken and as well as their diet and other things like that. When purchasing eggs, you might also see the label omega-3 enriched. Essentially, what this means is that these chickens did not have access to outdoors. Their diet was not really well kept, but it was enriched with omega-3 and vitamin E so that us humans can also get those benefits from the eggs we consume. And while omega-3 sounds great, it's an okay option, but pasture-raised organic would still be ideal. When talking about beef and butter, something we might see is grass-fed. Grass-fed is definitely our ideal option when it comes to beef and butter because this would mean that the cows were able to roam freely and eat a very natural and organic diet, which would mean that they were free from eating grains, which would add to their antibiotic and hormone use, as well as chemical feed additives. When shopping for fish, you might see wild, stocked, or farmed. Wild fish is definitely our ideal option. This would mean that the fish lived their entire life out in the wild, so their diet would be free from antibiotics and chemicals and caught fresh just for us. Think of this option as like when your dad grabbed the fishing rod and live bait and you guys went down to the river on a Sunday afternoon, it's all sunny, you reel your catch of the day in and you cook it that night. That's about as close as we can get to a wild fish option, so definitely our ideal form. Stocked fish is a close second option, as it would mean that the fish were raised in a farm environment and then later set out into the wild to be caught again, and then we would consume it. Farmed fish obviously means that it grew up on a farm, was caught in a farm, and sent off to the grocery store for us to consume, so that is our least ideal form. I know that this is a lot to take in and it's super confusing, and so in my ebook and my guide, I have this all laid out for you so you can read to and refer to it, as well as like little asterisks in the grocery guide to look for when planning your meals and grocery shopping. And everything is a lot more clear visually, so be sure to enter your email on my website and get your free guide. So let's just review our ideals in case you don't do that, just so that it's fresh in your mind and easy point form for you to see. When talking about poultry, our ideal would be pasture-raised and organic. For eggs, we're looking for pasture-raised and organic as well. Any sort of red meat option, beef, buffalo, bison, lamb, we're looking for pasture-raised, grass-fed, and organic. When looking at our seafood options, wild is our best bet. If you enjoyed this podcast episode, please be sure to rate us 5 stars, leave us a review. We love to read your kind words, and keep sharing this information to help more people. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and follow us on all platforms at bitesized.podcast. And in case no one has told you yet, you look radishing today. See you next week. Bye. Although I am a certified holistic nutrition consultant, I am not yours. It is not specified to you and your health needs. While I strive to provide the most accurate and up-to-date information regarding nutrition, this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only and should not substitute professional medical advice.